Hi, my name is Kirsty Halloran. I've made a couple of videos on how to go about picking the best electricity plan for your own particular needs. There's a lot of controversy on various forums in the media at the moment in terms of whether smart meters are a good option or not. So basically, there's three choices. You've got the 24-hour meter, you've got day and night meters, which are literally just day and night, it's binary, and then you've got the smart meters. So my mother has a day and night meter, and her contract is coming up for renewal. So I thought I would take a look and see her particular use case, her requirements. If we looked at the plans today, is she better off trying to stay on her day-night meter, or could there be advantages to moving to smart meter? So basically what I did to start with was I got her electricity bills for over a year in period. It was actually 482 days. And then I worked out what her average usage per day was and her average usage over the year. She's quite a low electricity user. Based on the period that I looked at when I worked out what she would use in a year, it would be about 1,650 kilowatts of day units, and she uses about 977, so just under 1,000 kilowatts at night unit. So this is my starting point for looking at what the best options would be for her. I started with electricity, and I can see there's a €100 welcome credit at the moment. They're offering a 10% discount off list. What's always interesting to look at is the standing charges on the meters. So on the right-hand side here, you can see the day-night meter has a standing charge of 309.56, whereas the smart meter has a standing charge of 240.97. It's nearly €70 cheaper, the smart meter is. If we look at the tariffs on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see that on the day-night meter, the day tariff is 44, the night tariff is 27, whereas on the smart meter, the day tariff is 45 and the night is 29. So again, we can see the tariffs are higher on the smart meter in this case, but the standing charge is lower. And this is what makes it so difficult to compare electricity plans, which is why I've built an Excel model to do this. So I went through the same process of I looked at electricity, I looked next at Board Gosh, then I looked at Energia, then I looked at Electric Ireland. And I took the data from these four plans and I've plugged them into the model, which you're looking at now on the screen. I have a tutorial that I created on this, which I've linked to. You should see the link on the screen now if you want to understand how this works. I also have this available to download, this template, so you can fill in your own data and play around with it. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the model. I'm just going to go straight into the variables I've plugged in. You can see here I've put in day units and night units at the top of the screen. I've thrown in a few peak units there for my mother because I'm not sure that she would change her usage during the day. So I just said let's try and make it as accurate as we can and divide up some of those units so the day units will be falling between 5 and 7 as well, just in case she did want to at some point change from the day-night meter to a smart meter. Scrolling down here, I've also added in some EV units. I calculated these just simply on the basis that she's going to be running the background load in the house for a couple of hours during the night anyway. So I've kept this fairly low for the year, but I've put in 300 units that she would be using between 2 and 5 a.m. roughly in the morning, in addition to her night units. You can see the total usage coming to 2,700 units. As it is at the top of the screen, I've just been moving the units around a bit to make sure that I've represented units right across the 24-hour period. My mother wouldn't be moving anything particularly from, over to electricity. She doesn't drive an electric car. She doesn't have EV panels, so I'm skipping the next section. I'm just going straight down here to the plans that I've plugged in. So at the top I have the plan she's on currently at the top. What I've done is listed the providers that I spoke about. And just out of curiosity, I put smart plans in below. Now she's not eligible for a smart plan because she's on a day-night meter, so it would be the top half here that she'd be picking from. But what I've done is I've put the standing charge in for each of them. You can see how incredibly variable they are. Huge variability here in terms of the standing charges. I've put in the day unit charge. If there is no peak, it's the same as day. I've put in the night unit price. I've put in the EV price. Again, you'll notice for the day-night meters, night price and EV price is the same because it doesn't differentiate. We've got the welcome credits I've plugged in here that some of the plans have. And then I guess where it gets somewhat interesting is if we scroll across and look at the results for the year. What I did here was I stack ranked the 20 plans just to see where they came in terms of the cheapest. And what I thought was particularly interesting was that we have the first plans here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all smart plans. So basically the top 4 plans in my mother's use case would be smart plans, and then the 5th plan that's come in the day-night rate is really the only option she can go for. There isn't a massive difference between them all because she's a low user, but I thought this was an interesting exercise to do, to see would there be much that she could be saved, but also to try and look at this discussion around, are smart meters better than day-night or day-night better than smart? And I think what this shows is there's no one answer for this particular use case. For my mother, a smart plan looks to be a lot better, clearly, but for other people who maybe are very heavy users during the night of electricity, it might not be. So the best advice I can give is, if someone says to you that one meter type is better than another, don't believe it, because in my experience, it's completely based on a use case scenario. For me, without doubt, the smart meter is better, but I have heard other people who maintain the day-night meter is better for their use case, so do your homework. Something interesting I noticed when I was doing this analysis for my mother, 2 of the plans I looked at, the smart plans, were these weekender plans where you get a free day's electricity over the weekend. And I had sort of ruled that out for myself because in my use case, it definitely was not worthwhile going for free time Saturday or Sunday. The caps were just too low for me. However, when I looked at this in the context of my mother, who would be living alone, even if I said, okay, she used 80 kilowatt hours a month out of the 100 kilowatt cap, so even not having her using it all, it turned out that the free weekend day turned out to be a really good option for her. And in fact, number 1 and number 2 in this list came out to be the free day at the weekend. Again, this is absolutely not suitable for my use case at all. I'm a heavy user, but for my mother, it looks like that this actually would be a good option. So that revised my view on that free day at the weekend. If you are a low electricity user and you could move your laundry to the weekend, it certainly looks like it could be a viable option after all. I hope this has been useful for you. In the description you'll find a link to download the actual file so you can do your own analysis, the template, and also I do have a call to action. I have a petition started up to try and get more transparency the way electricity plans are presented to us. It's very confusing, the number of variables that you have to consider when you're trying to work out what the best electricity plan is for you. So the petition link is in the description below as well. So I would appreciate very much if you could sign that petition. Thank you.